Hallo, Damen und Herren. Ich bin Lehrer Fred. Now, the main reason as to why I am bringing to our attention back to this Teil 2 of the A1 Sprechen is this. From the trend, I have seen that so many people are normally confused regarding the word Thema. So as you can see from the cards I've put on the screen is that whenever you're given a card, there is that big word in bold, and then there's also the Thema. So I'd like to inform us that in this video is this, that the Thema, don't say Thema, the Thema is simply, in English you call it theme or context. So you don't have to necessarily use the Thema literally in a sentence. What needs to be in a question, that is the word in bold, that big word, all right? So remember this, that you don't have to necessarily use the Thema literally. No. The Thema, as I've told us, is the theme, is the context, right? So don't have to use the Thema directly in a question. What needs to appear in a question is that word in bold, the big word. Like in the first card you can see I have is familiar. So this word familiar is the one that needs to appear in my question. You can choose to use the Thema. Like in this case now the Thema is wohnen. Now as you know, wohnen is to live, living, yeah, something about life, living, etc. So I can choose to use wohnen in my question, or I could choose not to use it, as long as I form the question in the context of living, staying, you know. I don't know if you're getting my point. Remember that the Thema, the Thema is simply the context of how you should frame a question. So as I've said, wohnen normally means to live, to stay, you know. So as long as you're forming the question, form it in the context of living or even staying. All right. So let's look at the first example I would have used under familiar. Maybe someone could ask you, do you live with your family? Or I could say, do you live with your family or alone? So I could say, wohnen Sie mit Ihrer Familie oder allein? Or I could go and say, wohnen Sie allein oder mit Ihrer Familie? Okay, let's go with that. Wohnen Sie allein oder mit Ihrer Familie? Do you live alone or with your family? And then I could simply respond, ich wohne mit meiner Familie. I live with my family. Ich wohne mit meiner Familie. All right. Now, I could also go ahead and ask a question under familie that how big is your family? Wie groß ist deine Familie? Wie groß ist deine Familie? How big is your family? And I could say, ich habe 4 Brüder und 3 Schwestern. Ich habe 4 Brüder und 3 Schwestern. Now you can see the second example I formed the question without necessarily using the wohnen. Now the emphasis is this. Remember that the theme, the Thema is simply the guiding context, not necessarily to be used in a question. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and see the other word, and the word you have here is Haustier. Now, Haustier is pet, right? Haustier, if it's singular, plural, you simply add an E. Haustiere, pets. So I've been given the word Haustier, okay, singular. So I could ask, do you have a pet? Do you have a pet at home? Do you have a pet at home? So I could say, haben Sie ein Haustier zu Hause? Haben Sie ein Haustier zu Hause? Do you have a pet at home? Haben Sie ein Haustier zu Hause? And you can see in this example again, I haven't used wohnen. As I told you, the Thema is simply the context or the guiding factor of which or to wish to guide you, okay? So, haben Sie ein Haustier zu Hause? Do you have a pet at home? That would say, nein, ich habe kein Haustier. Nein, ich habe kein Haustier. No, I have no pet, right? Someone could also go ahead and ask you, do you live with a pet in the house? Wohnen Sie, that is, wohnen Sie mit Ihrem Haustier zu Hause? Do you live with a pet at home? They would say, nein, leider nicht. No, unfortunately not. All right? Okay, let's go ahead and see the other card is computer. Computer. That is just computer in English, yeah? And I could go ahead and ask you, haben Sie einen Computer in deinem Haus? Haben Sie einen Computer in deinem Haus? Do you have a computer in your house? Then say, ja, ich habe einen neuen Computer. Ich habe einen neuen Computer. I have a new computer. Okay, here's another one, Garten. Now, as you know, garden is simply garden in English, right? So I could go ahead and ask you a question using garden. Wie groß ist dein Garten? Wie groß ist dein Garten? Now, how big is your garden? And then maybe I could respond honestly. Ich habe leider keine Idee. Ich habe leider keine Idee. Unfortunately, I have no idea. Right? Okay, let's go ahead and see the two cards remaining. This other one is Freundinnen oder Freunde einladen. So as you know, Freundinnen. These are female friends, and then Freunde could be male friends or general term. And then einladen, to invite. Better to say, would you like to invite? So, would you like to invite your friends to your house? So, möchtest du, this is a bit long, please check it keenly. Möchtest du deine Freunde? Remember when you use the möchte, the other verb we put at the end. So, möchtest du deine Freunde zu deinem Haus einladen? Möchtest du deine Freunde zu deinem Haus einladen? Would you like to invite your friends to your house? Let's say, ja, natürlich. Ja, natürlich. Yes, of course. Ja, natürlich. Okay, the last card you have is spielen. Now, spielen is simply to play. Spielen. All right? So I could ask you a question. I could simply ask, would you like to play with us? That is, möchtest du mit uns spielen? Möchtest du mit uns spielen? Would you like to play with us? Let's say, ja, das freut mich. Yes, that pleases me. I could also randomly ask, spielst du oft zu Hause? Spielst du oft zu Hause? Do you often play at home? That would say, ja, gerne. All right. So the emphasis of this video in mention of Teil is this, that remember the tema is simply theme or context in English. So you don't have to necessarily use it literally in the question you're forming, right? Sometimes you might find a card and the tema is Wochenende, right? You might get a card and then the tema is Wochenende. So in this case, I could decide to use the tema Wochenende, or someone could also decide to use, be creative and use Samstag, which is also a part of weekend, yeah? Samstag, which is part of Wochenende. Some could also decide to use Sonntag, which is also a day of the Wochenende. So you can see in this example, the tema was Wochenende, but you could decide to use Samstag or Sonntag in reference to the tema, right? So remember, you don't have to literally use the tema. What needs to appear in the question is the word given in bold. All right? So as part of today's challenge, I'd like you to go ahead and form a question in German. using a question word. Go ahead and form any question in the comment section. Form a question together with its possible answer to see how many are able to comfortably form questions. Yeah, so that's my challenge to you. Please ensure after watching the video you form a question using question word and then you answer. I want to see how you've been practicing. All right. With that said and done, let me say, das ist alles für heute. Tschüss und bis dann.